Hello, my name is Evans Mensah, and you can relive all the fun and excitement on Top Story, Newsnight, and of course, Ghana Connect via podcast. All you need to do is to log on to my Joy Online/podcast. Search for your favorite show and relive the moment. Joy 99.7 FM, your radio for discerning listeners.
Joy 99.7.
Let's get straight into our first story for this morning. So the West Africa Examination Council is insisting that no papers have been leaked in the ongoing WASI across the country. At a press conference yesterday, the council cautioned education advocates, the Africa Education Watch, and other stakeholders who peddle what the council describes as reckless information about examination papers to stop. The caution follows a post by the Executive Director of Africa Education Watch, Kofi Asare, on his Facebook wall that the Food and Nutrition Paper 3 were leaked on social media before the students got hold of them. He also noted that he had reported what he had noticed to WAEC. Now, responding to these claims, head of the national office at WAEC, Wendy Adilamte, explained the leaked papers were not the same papers the candidates wrote.
The head of WAEC National Office, Wendy Adilamte, explained an instructional guide was sent to teachers 4 days before the paper, and that was what was referred by African Education Watch as the leaked paper.
On the 16th August, we forwarded these documents to the heads of schools, and they are supposed to be given to the teachers who handle foods and nutrition. And it simply contains guidelines for the teachers to go by when they are conducting the test on Friday, and was already in the public domain. Hence, we are surprised that somebody picks it up and refers to it as a leaked document on the 19th August 2021.
According to Mrs. Adilamte, such instances does not only affect the psyche of the candidate, but also the credibility of the Ghanaian certificate on the international stage.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is not the first time we have had such misleading circulation from EduWatch. While we welcome feedback, which we believe helps us to take corrective actions to improve, reckless circulations like this creates needless pressure on WAEC, on the candidates, on the parents, and on our various stakeholders. Local and international bodies that use our results for the admission of Ghanaians into tertiary institutions may doubt the credibility of our certificates, making the Ghanaian child the ultimate loser.
Head of Legal at WAEC, Reverend Victor Brew, cautioned Africa Education Watch and others against spreading what he calls false information, or they will be taken on.
So when we say that we take the matter further, it means a number of things, and the whole idea is to ensure that we are collaborating, and the word collaborate means we are partners. I think the stance that we should all take should not be to say one breath we are collaborating, and then another breath our actions appear to be as though we are going fishing for something untoward.
For JoyNews, I am Hannah Odame.
But in reaction to the presser, Mr. Asare indicated he, the council, addressed a different issue other than his complaint. He spoke on JoyNews Prime. WAEC is, however, insisting that no papers have been leaked. The Director of Public Affairs, Agnes Tekujo of the West African Examination Council, joins us live with more. Good morning, Agnes, and thank you for your time.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, so just to clarify, did your press conference address the exact complaint by the Africa Education Watch?
Yes, our press conference address the exact complaints from Africa Education Watch. You know, as the head of national office mentioned yesterday during the press briefing, we received some information from Africa Education Watch, which he sent to one of our heads of division. And that information that he sent included the instructions to the foods and nutrition teacher and some questions purported to be the questions that the candidates were taking that day. Now, when you look at the question that he sent to our colleague, it stated that your lactating mother is at hospital, you will be visiting her. Prepare a 2-course, and the spelling of course is CAUSE, meal for her. Set a table giver for her using a required and suitable method. Serve along with a chilled pineapple drink. And that was the information that Africa Education Watch sent to our colleague, together with the instructions to the foods and nutrition teacher that Mrs. Adelamte mentioned yesterday was sent to the schools on Monday the 16th. Now, in our press conference yesterday, the head of national office mentioned that the purported questions that the Africa Education Watch had sent to our colleague was totally different from the paper that the candidates took on Friday, the 20th of August. Our question paper indicated that your sister is an ulcer patient. Considering her condition, prepare, cook, and serve a 3-course meal for her. Now, preparing a meal for an ulcer patient is entirely different from that for a lactating mother, which was what the Africa Education Watch sent to us.
Right, okay, well, I mean, it seems simple and straightforward enough. I mean, from what you have said, there seems to be a remarkable difference between the two papers. But from your opinion, or in your opinion, why do you think that Africa Watch will continue, EduWatch will continue to insist that that is not what they sent you, or that is not what they're asking you to address?
Well, it's a bit surprising as to why he's saying what he's saying. I believe that it may be because he is realizing that he's losing credibility, and he's realizing that we have been able to point out the loopholes in the information that he sent. So he's trying to save his face.
Okay, well, I mean, let's talk about a few other issues. What are some of the things that WAEC has put in place for this year's WASSCE, for example, to prevent the leakage of papers and to prevent things like this from happening and just holding the students back completely when these things happen?
The council has put in place all necessary arrangements for the smooth conduct of the examination. Now, we all know that conduct of examinations have become a security thing. So some of the new security features or arrangement that we have put in place, we cannot come on air and announce that.
Of course. So what's the general protocol for if there is a leaked paper?
The council has in place the necessary protocols. And I think that whenever there has been a leakage that we have confirmed to be a leakage, we have taken appropriate action. And if, unfortunately, something like that happens, which we don't believe will, we know what exactly to do.
Okay, Agnes, if you just stay on for me, I would love you to listen to this again and then perhaps react for us. So Mr. Asari indicated yesterday, when he spoke to JoyNews Prime, that the council had addressed a different issue other than his complaint. Now, this is what he said exactly. You don't have what he said?
These questions were actually given to the schools before then, before the 20th, so they could prepare for this. Is this something you are aware of before the 20th? Because WAEC says you put out this information on the 19th. The paper was written on the 20th, but they had done so before the 19th when you made the claim.
I'm sorry, it cannot be true. We put out our statement on the 20th, not on the 19th.
Okay.
And I'm saying that WAEC is talking about something different from what we are talking about. That's the point I'm making. WAEC is talking about instructions to teachers.
Okay.
Regarding the practical paper. That is not what we are talking about. Okay, so I'm saying that we have shared what we are talking about with you. So go through and see if what we are talking about is instruction to teachers. The standard matter now is that we have provided evidence that the questions leaked on a Telegram platform. I won't mention the name because I'm popularizing an illegality. And it leaked on that platform at 11:08 a.m. And we have sent screenshots of that platform and the question and the time it leaked and the date, everything to media houses, including our release. And we have also added screenshots of the question that eventually was written 2.5 hours later. So that is our evidence that it leaked. What I presented is their evidence that it did not leak. But how we are presented is our evidence that it leaked. So they are two different things.
Very well. And WAEC notes at this press conference that it appears EduWatch, has a mission to find issues with the institution. How do you respond to this?
Oh, well, it's very unfortunate that WAEC would believe that we have something personal with them. If we had anything personal with WAEC, we wouldn't be even having discussions with WAEC after we went to court. We've been in court with WAEC for the past 2 years.
Agnes, if you're still there, I'm hoping that you were able to listen to what Mr. Kofi Asare said. Would you like to respond to that?
I listened, and Mr. Kofi Asare sent to us, as I mentioned earlier, questions that indicated that the candidate should prepare a meal for a lactating mother. We also received something from a colleague of yours in another media house, purported to also have been put out, and that one also spoke about preparing food for a convalescent patient. Now, all these two are totally different from the paper that was taken, which spoke about candidates preparing a meal for an ulcer patient. So Mr. Kofi Asare sent some questions to us, and that was what we addressed. He did not only send the instructions to the food and nutrition teacher. That was not the only thing he sent. He sent some questions which contain spelling and grammatical errors. And we have stated that those questions, together with others that some other people in media houses had, were totally different from the paper. Now, let me state that after one of your colleagues in another media house engaged me, and I sent him the actual paper, he sent me a message back to say that yes, he has checked, and whatever he had was not true. So it means that there are people out there who doubt the credibility of Africa Education.
Okay, well, all of this is very unfortunate because this is WASI and these are our children's future. So anything that sort of, makes it gray is a very difficult thing to do. But thank you for clarifying for us. We will get our hands on the actual examination paper so that we can actually see for ourselves, what is. But thank you so much, Agnes Tekujo. She's the Director for Public Affairs at WAEC. Okay, let's move on to our next story. Now, a convener of the Fix the Country campaigners, Oliver Barker-Vormawor, has been explaining reasons for the gathering of 1 million signatures to push for Ghana's 1992 constitution to be rewritten. In an interview with JoyNews' Israel Lai on the AM show, Mr. Barker-Vormawor said the 1992 constitution has outlived its relevance, hence the need to write a new constitution to serve the current need of the country. Take a listen to him.
One of the reasons why we have talked about a new constitution for a new generation and not going back to those language of a review or piecemeal amendments is because we have a certain historical understanding of why the process has failed in the past. And one of the reasons why it has been very difficult for people to understand why that shift to a new constitution is important is precisely the reason why we are not getting any movement. And in taking on the burden of saying a new constitution, we also want to engage and educate Ghanaians about what it means in practice. Because politicians have created a fear factor around the word new or a renewal, a rebirth of what Ghana means to people. And we want to do that. And I'll take briefly some time to explain this to you. And when the Constitution Review Commission finished and produced over 1,000-page report, there were more than 360 significant constitutional changes that needed to be made. In those changes, there was a real confusion as to whether or not, when you look at the current Constitution, we needed one amendment bill to address all of the issues, or that we needed several bills. The Constitution Review Commission decided that all entrenched provisions under the Constitution can take one bill, and all non-entrenched provisions will take one bill. Unfortunately, what happened was that the current government put together a committee chaired by the Attorney General, who decided that for all those substantive changes that the Constitution needed, every change needed one bill on its own. Meaning that we are potentially getting into a referendum where Ghanaians will be standing and voting on 1,000 amendments on each of the issues.
Okay.
But it's impractical. And it was one of the reasons why, it was one of the tools they used to stall the entire process. Now, if we understand that reviewing the Constitution can engage almost 1,000 rewrites of articles in the Constitution, then we already understand that it is impractical to do that to the current document. We must enter a framework which allows us to be able to make those changes holistically and together. So the Constitution that we create has a basic, a new philosophy of how it engages the people of Ghana. If we want to do patchwork, we'll end up creating much more problems than we currently have.
All right, but
the other suggestion is that let's not even do a review. The president has even said that. Let's just take one issue. And his only issue that interests him is extending partisanship to the district level. And when Ghanaians rejected that, they decided that, well, if you do not want it the government's way, we are not giving you anything at all. We do not want politicians to hijack the process. And the biggest risk of hijacking comes in the review conversation. But if we do a new constitution, where we take it from the consultative or constituent assembly right to a referendum, Ghanaians have the most say in the document. That is why we've taken on this charge and burden to educate and also collect those 1 million signatures to show support for the process.
all right, so you talk about fix the country movement, but here's the case where you're talking about a new constitution altogether. To me, it sounds more like reset the country rather than fix the country, because indeed, if you look at fixing in the context or the definition of it, it suggests that you're trying to do more patchwork than overhauling the system. So fix the country, resets the country. Yeah. What exactly are you looking at?
So a reset must have a purpose, right? The remedy for any problem, you have to sit down with the problem a bit more before you prescribe what remedy it needs. In this case, to be able to fix Ghana, we need a certain reset in certain dimensions. The people do not leave. But the underlying document that founds the country needs to change for that fixing process and healing process to happen. And we should not be shy about it. I hear a lot of people say, but well, are you calling for a faith republic? And what does that mean? And I'm asking myself, so many of our citizens keep dying in our hospitals, which are underfunded. So many of our people are being left behind by poor educational facilities. So many people live in communities which are disconnected from major areas. They cannot get their farm produce to market. And so many people who have to cross miles to get basic education. And if our concern is about numbering, then I think we've already lost the plot, right? At every time in a nation's life, we have to ask ourselves, are we delivering justice to our people? Now, I have today closed my eyes under this Fourth Republic, and I've imagined 10 years down the line, and I cannot see a change in what is happening. I cannot see anything that is bringing justice to our people. I cannot see anything that is moving us on the path towards improving lives, apart from the rigmarole of one politician and one party and the other party. We want to engage Ghanaians in a different project that creates belief that this country can deliver justice. This country can fix itself so that the citizens can believe in a different future.
Right.
And that job is hard. But that job must be started by people and must be started by citizens.
One of the
Welcome back, and let's go straight into illegal mining. Now, the Lands Ministry is taking steps to legalize mining and the production of Changfa boats. The Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources is taking steps to ban the assembling and use of Changfa boats, which float on water bodies for dredging. Declaring the equipment illegal is part of the government's drive to halt dredging of water bodies for gold. The move will allow the task force against illegal mining to arrest producers of the equipment and destroy production workshops. Nana Yaojima digs into the operation of water dredgers and the importance of the Changfa boats in their operations.
That's the sound of the Shanfai, hence its famous name, Tutututu. The mountain of the dredging equipment, known as Shanfai, has become common as gold miners desperately search for gold ore in river bodies. The equipment mainly consists of motor-powered barrel-like apparatus held together with a steel. Wooden boards cover the platform, powered by Shanfai engines. On top of the boat-like machine are compartments which aid the washing of sand, deployed by alluvial miners in their operations. The activity contributes largely to destruction of water bodies. Here are some affected residents along the Ofen River. Those mining in the river have destroyed it. It is now unusable. Various efforts to rid river bodies of destruction by dredgers have resulted in destruction of thousands, but a lot more continue to float on rivers. The building of a boat with 2 Shanfai engines cost at least 15,000 cedis. It is estimated the cost for acquisition can be recovered in less than a week when business is good. Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, George Mekuduka, says fight against illegal mining will be extended to production of the boats.
We're going to go off that and come home and make sure if you are assembling or manufacturing a Shanfai machine, you are apprehended. Let me also say that this also doesn't give room for people to go out there to extort.
As part of efforts to deal with the dredgers, the government intends to deploy river guards to complement works of security agencies in halting bad mining practices. The ministry has already inaugurated the task force of the Small Scale Mining Association to support the fight against illegal mining, especially on rivers. Mr. Duka explains how all named forces will coexist with standing force of Operation Halt.
This is a rapid response unit. You know, we have the Operation Halt 2 that is also, going around, arresting people, making sure they sanitize the sector. This is to also augment the strength that Operation Halt 2 has and also be supporting them in all the endeavors. So this is a unit that has been set by the ministry itself. It kind of to attend to distress calls, especially those in the river bodies and the forest reserves.
For Joy News, Nana Yaojima, Kumasi.
Now, the Nananum of the Techiman Traditional Council have appealed to the Acting Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Akufu-Dampare, to help curb the increasing crime in the Techiman municipality. Adonte Hene of the Techiman Traditional Council, Nana Owusu Entry Bwesiako, made this call when the acting IGP paid a courtesy call on them as part of his 2-day working visit to the Bono East region. Anas Sabit has more in this report.
The Acting Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Akufu-Dampare, has paid a working visit to the Bono East Enclave to ascertain the security situation of the region. The visit, according to the Director of Public Affairs, Superintendent Alexander Kweku Obin, forms part of measures taken by the new IGP to have first-hand information about security in the area.
The team is embarking on the Bono East regional working visit. After the working visit, I think we will have time to engage the media before we proceed to Accra. So, and as part, he paid a courtesy call on the Osiadeyo Nanamia Kumfi the fourth, Techiman Hene, and conferred with the chief and his people. So we are proceeding to all the strategic locations within the jurisdiction. So after tomorrow, we will engage the media.
The IGP first had a closed-door meeting with an anonymous of the Techiman Traditional Council before paying a courtesy call on the Bono East Regional Minister, Mr. Kwesi Edujan. Alontin Hene of the Techiman Traditional Council, Nana Owusu and Chibosi Akon described the visit as historical and asked that the visit would go a long way to help improve the security of the region.
This visit is a historical visit. We have not had any acting IGP visiting us before. This is the first time. We had substantive ones. And looking at the way he has decided to approach the issue on his appointment, the way he's visiting and touring across the country, tells you that when he's given the full position, he'll work massively. And it has been a very nice encounter. We have discussed issues with him concerning crime issues and at the same time security issues. And he also gave us his word and appreciated the effort and whatever we have done over the years to support the cause of security and the police administration in Techiman municipality. So it's not bad at all. It's a wonderful visit and we appreciate it as a kingdom.
He further noted that traditional authorities are calling for measures capable of helping address organized crimes across the municipality.
And Techiman is almost a metropolitan. And you see, like we've said earlier, we have seen numerously that the crime rate is high. The population is growing. And once it's growing, you have this kind of spillover. So the spillover, which comes from other districts or regions, in terms of organized crime, that is where our focus is. And we want IGP to look at that stretch and try to help us.
The IGP would also visit the eastern part of the region where a special anti-robbery squad has been deployed to help clamp down on the increasing activities of armed robbers in the area. Reporting for JoyNews, Anas Sabit.
Former President John Dramani Mahama has repeated calls made by minority members of parliament in the Upper West region, urging the president to deploy soldiers from the 48th Engineers Regiment to construct emergency roads in the disaster-affected areas in the Upper West region. Close to 2 weeks ago, the Upper West region had torrential rains, which resulted in flash floods, washing off roads and cutting off 8 out of 11 municipalities and districts in the region. Speaking at Goriyiri after touring some of the affected roads and donating some relief items to some of the victims, John Dramani Mahama noted that the situation is dire and urgent steps need to be taken to ameliorate sufferings of the people. JoyNews' Upper West correspondent Rafiq Salam reports from Moa.
Former President John Dramani Mahama, during a courtesy call on the overload of the Wala traditional area, now for the people the fourth record calls made by the minority members from the region, urging the president to deploy the 48th Engineers Regiment to open up the roads.
That people are suffering, their items and properties have been destroyed, and the roads have been cut off. There's a backlog of trucks that were heading to Burkina Faso and other places that are all stranded along the road. I don't know if the president is receiving the proper security reports, but it is a very, very serious situation. And I think the president should take action and get his people, if we can get the military, the 48th Engineers Regiment, to come in with some emergency action to open up the roads quickly so that the transport of goods and passengers can continue to flow. Otherwise, it's creating a very serious situation in this corridor.
He later visited some of the affected roads in the region to acquaint himself with the situation before donating some relief items to some of the affected persons.
The road is completely cut off, so people can't go, people can't come. There are communities that are stranded downstream that can also not reach Nadoli. And so when pregnant women, people who are ill, have to reach the Nadoli. hospital. You've seen a small wooden bridge they put there. That's where they have to pass them and bring them down, and then they'll join another vehicle waiting here to take them there. People have lost properties, and people are homeless. And so we're calling on NADMO, and I'm sure by now NADMO is getting itself together. I encourage the government to give them the resources.
Rolling back to town, John Dramani Mahama met members of the Upper West Region's Local Council of Churches, where their chairman, Apostle George Apasara, gave this assurance.
You may not see us, ministers of the gospel and most of our congregations, in fix the country campaign or fixing the country campaign. But may I assure you, Your Excellency, and the ruling government, that we are monitoring things on the ground. You may not hear our silence, but come December 2024, we want to assure you all that we speak the language that politicians understand.
The former president concluded the tour, meeting the press and also addressing a large gathering of party supporters at the Botanical Institute.
This is still News Desk here on Joy News. We're taking a quick break. When we come back, we'll bring you some business news. Don't go anywhere.
Hi, good morning. Welcome to Business. My name is Darrell Kwao. Information Minister Kojo Ponkuma has highlighted the key role media and strong marketing communication play in the country's quest to fully achieve economic growth, whilst recognizing the media needs support to survive the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. He's tasked the media to deliver the right information that would make the country attractive to investors. He was speaking at the Graphic Business Stanbic Bank breakfast meeting in Accra.
The media employs output of economic organizations, governments, companies, etc. in their coverage. How we report the aims, the strategies, the evaluation, the outcomes, they can fuel or they can distort the picture of and for the general public. And in return, it can become the new stimulus of how the economic actors, the general public, and even governments further act in this recovery cycle. For any set of interventions to be successful, it has been observed, it must gain the goodwill and the support of the people. And the key value drivers such as business and citizens will only support these recovery policies if they understand it, and understand it especially through credible media. This means policymakers must adopt broad-based, proactive, robust, nuanced, and repetitive marketing communication strategies to get everybody on board these recovery programs. But it also means that media must reflect these realities to the people and complement these efforts by helping the effort to rebuild genuinely, highlighting the shared responsibilities in rebuilding and the common benefits when we successfully rebuild.
Now, the Ghana Chamber of Commerce and Industries will be using its business forum, which takes place tomorrow, Wednesday, to champion the cause of reviving small-scale businesses that were affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Under the theme Redefining Business Success, the case of SMEs in Ghana, the Chamber aims to engage small and medium enterprises on the many international agreements signed by the country and how they can benefit. Mark Bedu-Abuaje is Chief Executive of the Chamber.
As part of our activities as a chamber is to ensure that we strengthen the SMEs. We help them to redefine what we are calling success from just profit to being sustainable into the long term. Now, prior to the COVID, most of them were fragile, so they were recording bits and pieces of profit here and there. And COVID came, and most of them have collapsed because they were not sustainable. So idea for this forum basically is to ensure that we build their capacity at the micro level. Always the concentration has been at the macro level, where we talk about inflation, we talk about exchange rate, we talk about policy and interest rate and how they are affecting businesses. Now we are going down to see how the businesses themselves manage their resources to ensure that they are profitable and sustainable into the future. So for this particular project, I think it's very relevant for every SME. If you want to have a sustained business into the future and create profit and wealth for yourself and for the country, then you don't have to miss this particular SME forum, because the topics that we have selected are very key in building their capacity, and the resource persons are on top of their game. For instance, it's important that as a business, you should be able to identify the risk within your business and put in place mitigation measures. If you are not able to do that, any shock and your business will collapse. And also, we've heard several times SME complaining, we went to the bank, we did not get a facility, they said I should go and bring this. You have to assess yourself even before you approach a bank. Am I credit worthy? Am I on point? Do I keep proper records? This we have Kobianda, who is the MD of Bank of Africa, just to take these SMEs through what they have to do to make sure that they are credit worthy even before they approach a bank. And one key thing is that for now, we've signed several trade agreements. We have the EP, Economic Partnership Agreement, we have the AFTA, we have AGUA, and a number of bilateral and multilateral trade agreements. The question is, are SMEs, are they able to take advantage of this trade agreement? And from what I said, the answer is no. Other countries are using this trade agreement to their advantage. So we need to be able to build the capacity of SMEs to be able to enter into this international market. And we have experts from GIZ who is going to help us, take us through this. And one key thing that probably we overlook and is affecting SMEs is the issue of standard and quality. Now, it's not just enough to say I have signed an agreement and I can benefit from it. Your product should meet certain basic quality and standards. And of course, it's lacking here. So how do you meet these standards? How do you make this basic quality to ensure that your product is acceptable in the world market, acceptable in other countries?
All right, and just to reiterate, the GNCCI Business Forum is slated for tomorrow, Wednesday, the 25th of August at the La Palm Royal Beach Hotel. Enjoy Business is partnering the event. That's all in business for now. Sports is coming up next.